Good morning again, and welcome to the Regional Chamber's annual Boardman Breakfast Program. I'm Kim Calvert, Vice President of Marketing and Member Services at the Regional Chamber, and I'd like to thank you for joining us today at this longtime gem in the township. For the past few years, we've held this event in the evening over cocktails and hors d'oeuvres, but given some of the exciting future plans we've heard about for Southern Park Mall, we thought we would do something a little different and unique and utilize the space right here. The fact that Chick-fil-A is a mere few steps away and could provide breakfast really had no bearing on that decision at all. But we are grateful for the mall's hospitality and Chick-fil-A's delicious breakfast this morning, and can we please give them all a round of applause? We always look forward to this program so we can find out what's going on in Boardman Township and schools. And today we're also going to hear from officials at the Southern Park Mall and WRTA, which is offering its new U-Ride on-demand shared ride services in Boardman. And we're going to meet a high school student who was honored for a video he created to bring awareness to a pretty significant issue. We, of course, would not be able to hold our programs without the help of our friends, and we are grateful that our longtime sponsor continually steps up for this program, this community, and the Regional Chamber. Please welcome from First National Bank, Mr. Pete Asimakopoulos, Executive Vice President, Small Business Banking, Youngstown Market President.
Thank you, Kim. Good morning, everyone. Great to be with all of you. On behalf of First National Bank and FNB Corporation, it is our privilege to once again sponsor Good Morning Boardman. Boardman's an important market for First National Bank. We have two branches in the township, one on 224 and one on Tippecanoe Road. Being one of the largest townships in Ohio, as Boardman succeeds and grows, so does the entire business community. As many of you, I've lived in Boardman my entire life, and I believe a successful community doesn't happen overnight. It evolves. It evolves through an excellent school system, a strong fire department, a dedicated police force, a meaningful recreation area, and of course, thoughtful government leadership. Boardman has all of those. We have great leaderships in our trustees, our administrator, and our fiscal officer. These gentlemen and their staff do an outstanding job of guiding the township through some significant growth and some challenging times. First National Bank is proud to have a business and personal relationship with the township. Over the last couple of years, we've been able to and honored to provide financing for the new fire station, a new fire truck, and bond refinancing for Boardman local schools. Through our bankers, many of which are in the room today, we've experienced 40 quarters of organic loan growth. If you do the quick math, that takes you back about 10 years. We're one of only a handful of banks in the country that can say that. Not only do we try and provide financial solutions to businesses and consumers, but our bankers also volunteer their money and hundreds of hours of their time each year to various community organizations and nonprofits. We hope that we've made a difference in the Boardman community. On behalf of First National Bank, I want to thank the Youngstown-Warren Regional Chamber for the opportunity to sponsor this morning's breakfast, to Chick-fil-A for the fabulous food, to Brian, the Southern Park Mall in Washington Prime for their commitment to improve Boardman's retail environment. But most of all, I want to thank all of you. Thank you for your commitment, your dedication, and your leadership that has helped Boardman remain a strong, viable community. Thank you and enjoy the program.
Pete, thank you so much, and to First National Bank again for joining us this morning and so generously supporting our Good Morning Boardman program year after year. First National is also sponsoring our Economic Forecast Breakfast on November 13th, and their Senior Vice President and Director of Portfolio Management for the Wealth Management's Cleveland region, Chris Wicklinski, will be giving a local forecast. We will also present our third Excellence in Manufacturing Award to Quality Switch, and we are going to hear a special presentation from our keynote speakers, Bob Paduchik, Ohio Chairman of the Donald J. Trump for President, and Rick Unger, Progressive Radio talk show host of The Rick Unger Show. Both have Valley ties, but while they do not know one another, they have decided to create a joint presentation that is humorous and entertaining, but also incorporates their perspectives on the 2020 presidential election. So this is one you won't want to miss. I'd also like to give a special thank you to our equipment presentation sponsor, L. Calvin Jones. Since we hold so many events each year, our equipment experiences lots of wear and tear. We were just joking today, there were times it takes us quite some time to get a projector to go from this to this. So today we were thrilled that that wasn't the case, and of course we couldn't have replaced all of our equipment this year without the support of L. Calvin Jones, so we thank them for that. Next, we're going to move right into our updates, but we're going to change up the order just a bit as we have a special presentation with an impressive young man from Boardman High School who has to get back to class real soon. So please welcome first School Superintendent Tim Saxton for an update and to introduce our student.
I'm going to do an update first here. I don't know who's loading we got it. Let's just make sure I can drive. First thing I'm going to do is I want to give a quick update on the schools, and then we do have a student that we want to honor. And let me just make sure I can. All right. Just double check it.
Can you make a liar out of me? Do you have? There we go.
Okay.
Still fix it.
All right, we're driving. The question is, well, I guess I can't take this mic down. Sorry, I don't know if I can stand. If you know me, I don't know. I'll try to stand here and deliver. All right, so my goal here is that I've already used up a lot of my time. They said I only have 10 minutes, and you heard me speak before. I've had a tough time sticking to that, but I'm doing it. So I started my timer here. But I figured, okay, if I got 10 minutes talking about the Boardman schools, and the theme of this is talking about maybe the changing face of Boardman, I want to tie in the Boardman schools to that. So what I picked is one little project that we did, and one of the things we did starting last year is we closed a building. Really, that's, it's exciting to build buildings. I don't think we've ever closed a building in the Boardman schools, and we closed Market Street. That's a big deal for us. So I want to talk about that because the face of the Boardman schools changed a little bit. So quick overview of the Market Street Elementary project. I'm hitting the big button. Oh, there we go. All right. So why close the building? If you remember back down in 2018, we had a financial crisis. And we spoke to the public. We said, look, we got a couple plans here. We really like Plan A. We don't want to have to go to Plan B. But Plan A was a passage of a new levy, which we were very blessed and very thankful to this community that we did back in May of 2018. That brought in new money. That did not completely solve the problem. That was probably about 70-80% of the solution. The other was on us. We need to do our due diligence and stay skinny as we speak, and we need to reduce costs. In discussions with the community, they said, okay, levy fatigue, don't always come to us with new money. What can you guys do? We want you to, one, to think outside the box, and two, be proactive. So we took that to heart. So as we launched last school year in August, in discussions with the school board to figure out, okay, what are some of our goals? How can we achieve some of these things that the community's asked us to do? We said, let's close the building. They've been trying to tackle that for about 20 years in the Boardman schools. The board said, that's nice, get it done, find out a way to do it. So we took a look, we knew we could, if we were gonna do it, it had to be one of our elementaries. So why did we choose Market Street? We had 4 elementaries. It was one of the smaller enrollment size, so that would be a little bit easier to close because we have to put those students somewhere. Also, we want to take a look at the conditions of the buildings. Which ones had the most recent improvements? Which ones we know had some future renovations or some future problems to solve? Market Street had some water seepage issues in the basement, and the roof eventually was going to have to be replaced. It was between Market Street and West Boulevard. Market Street, in our view, was in worse condition than West Boulevard, and it was centrally located. So if you close the elementary that's centrally located, it's easy to disperse the students to the surrounding ones. Some people said, whoa, you're moving way too fast. You've been trying to do this for 20 years, you're going to do it in one? So why so fast? Well, one, our enrollment, as we know, as common through the valley, has slowly been declining. We're a little stable with a slight decline. But the big key was we had some retirements that we knew were going to line up, both in the teaching realm, in our custodial services, and our administration. And that's a one-time shot. If you don't grasp that, most likely you're going to have to replace those positions if you don't modify something in your operations. So we had to do it at that time. We had to get it done because we may not have had that opportunity. The other thing was we were projecting $500,000 savings if we did it now. We could not walk through the hallways of the mall, or go to Giant Eagle, or go to Church of the Y, and look at the people that support our levy and say, we missed an opportunity to save $500,000. We figured we couldn't, it was not professional to wait one more year. We wanted to get it done. This is allowing me to catch my breath. I'm hitting the right button. In schools, it's nice to talk about operations costs, but really what's the benefit for kids? Better collaboration, consistency, instruction. As you condense buildings, we can be more consistent with their teaching staff. We want to balance class sizes. When you have 4 elementaries, it's harder to disperse the student population across 4 buildings, a little bit easier over 3 buildings. Moving kids up into a different building allows our kids to have increased exposure to our music and art. You know, if you're part of the Boardman schools, how important and how unique the music and art programs are. And one of the things that we learned from our community when we realigned Center and Glenwood was we did the shuttle system. Parents said, look, I get it, but now my kid's riding the bus 15, 20 minutes longer. We heard them. We wanted to eliminate that. So what was the plan? Close Market Street and get it done by the end of the 18-19 school year. We moved those students into Stadium, Robinwood, and West Boulevard. They were K-4 buildings. We'd make them K-3 buildings. They had to handle the capacity of those additional students. So we had to move the 4th grade out. So we moved the 4th grade into Center Intermediate School, which some people may remember was the old high school. The reason why we did that was, as we're trying to figure out where we're going to put all these additional students, we're meeting in my office at Center, and we look around and we realize all our offices at Central Office were old classrooms. They converted classrooms into offices. Let's set them back. So there were 12 classrooms that were converted to Central Office space. All we had to do was quickly convert them back. And then Central Office had to land somewhere, so we moved them up to Boardman High School into the Media Center. Now, I'm not Ray Bradbury. I don't want to burn books, and my mom was a librarian. So it's not like we want to get rid of libraries, but kids are not checking out books anymore. They're doing research electronically. They're reading novels, and they're reading magazines. That's what they're doing. But we have this room, this huge room, underutilized, full of books. How can we better utilize that space? We move Central Office into there. So now let's go through the 4 steps. Market Street, we start to close Market Street, but we realize there's some people in here probably that went to Market Street. And when you close their building, boy, do they get mad at you. All right? So we had to be sensitive and we had to honor. There's a lot of tradition and memories of Market Street. Opened in 1950. It really was our first building other than the original building over there at Center. So we had a closing ceremony in June. We had over 1,000 people walk through that building that last day. And at the last couple minutes, we took the flag down for the last time. That's the picture in the upper left-hand corner. So now, close Market Street. We got to move the kids into Stadium Drive, Robinwood West. So we have to disperse the kids into those buildings properly. So here's what the map looked like. Market Street's up there. You can see how it's centrally located. The only elementary that had a common boundary with 3, and then click. Well, that just worked better. So now you can see what we did. So that's the new distribution, West Boulevard, Robinwood, and Stadium Drive. So it was nice to have Market Street in the central location, and there were some nice natural boundaries. The cemetery was a nice natural boundary. The tracks on Southern Boulevard was a nice natural boundary. Okay, so afterwards, how did we do? Let's take a look at some data. First column, you can see 322, 361, 383 were the enrollments prior. That was K through 4. Now the next column over, the 328s, the 377s, that's the enrollment now K through 3. Pretty well balanced. So you're within, the one may have like a 16 student disparity. Really, if you take a look at it, that's not that big of a deal in a building of 377. Free and reduced lunch. Okay, if you take a look at Stadium Drive, in 1819, they had a population of 26.5%. That's a good economic indicator of your poverty level. But if you don't if you don't get into the 30s, you're not going to get federal money for intervention for math and reading. So we had 3 elementaries that received those funds, 1 that did not. That's not right. All of our elementaries should have balanced services. After the move, you can see we have a little better balance. We're approaching some less of a disparity in the free and reduced lunch. Average class size, hey, you're closing a building, putting all these kids into our elementary, aren't the class sizes going to go up? But we moved teachers with them. So you can see how the class sizes are balanced. Stadium Drive pretty close. It went up a little bit, about a half student, but the rest of them went down about 1 student. So we were able to condense and lower class size, which is good for kids. Next, all the 4th graders would have to go in the center. So there we are, we're demolishing our offices. Those are just partition walls. That's a lot of drywall and some plaster, but the framing was fine. So if you take a look at the next picture, and then click it one more time, you saw with that one, when you see that all that plaster laying around, that's what it looked like in July. That plaster picture was in April. Actually, this shot here, that's my old office. If you've ever been in my old office, that's my back wall, actually. Painted that myself. Central office moved to the high school, so here we are recrafting the media center, and that's what the media center looks like now. We're 80% done. We've moved about 15 offices, central office, treasurer, superintendent, directors, all moved into the media center at the high school. Almost done there. And finally, savings. So when it's all said and done, utilities and operations closing Mark Street, we're saving $135,000. Attrition, we had 13 classified employees. 12 of them either found a job in another place in the district or were retiring. Only 1 person did we have to reduce their position. Administrative and teacher, we reduced 6 teaching positions through attrition. No one lost a job. Those were through retirements or resignations. And we had 1 administrator also resign, and we did not replace them. That gave us a $955,000 savings a year. Now, I will tell you, to be upfront and honest, we had to invest about $400,000 of that money initially to do the construction. That's a one-time cost, as business owners would know. But from here on out, we achieved our goal of the $500,000 for the first year. But every year after that, we're looking at least $955,000 a year savings to do our part and better services for kids. And I'm way over, but thank you. But let's get to the best part. I would introduce Chris Clonis. He's an awesome instructor for BSTN. He was up here last year. His kids just keep winning award after award. So Chris Clonis, come on up. I want you to introduce a very special man. "10 minutes, 51 seconds. I'm feeling pretty good. And a shout out to Bill James. He's a Boardman grad. He owns a Chick-fil-A.
So I'm Chris Clonis. I have the honor of teaching Sam Holter, and I also have the honor today of introducing him, and I get to brag about him a little bit because I know, if you know Sam, he's too humble to brag about himself, so I get to do that for him. He last year told me that he was submitting this video to the Ohio Turnpike for the Wait to Text video contest. And right away, I knew that there was no way that he wasn't going to win. So when he officially told me, I was like, well, no surprise, but that's, obviously I was ecstatic that he did get the honor of winning first place. Something else, if you don't know about Sam, he was a part of the crew last year who won first place in state for a group video that they did as a part of the BSTN course where they went down to Columbus, and they were honored for that as well. So Sam is an incredibly talented, hardworking kid who has an extremely bright future ahead of him. I have no doubt about that. So without any further ado, Sam Holter.
Hi there. I'd like to thank all of you so much for having me. I'm greatly honored to be here. I'm a junior at Boardman High School, and I walk those halls every day. And one day I noticed this bright red poster on the wall, and it was for this Ohio Turnpike Wait to Text video contest. And immediately, my brain just started rolling because, 1, I've been an aspiring filmmaker since about 2nd grade, and 2, I think it's a great cause. I think all of us can relate. Almost every day I see someone texting and driving, and it's the most uncomfortable feeling. So immediately I got to work. I was under a little bit of a time crunch, so I had to get creative with how I created some of the video. No traffic infringements were committed during the creation of this video. I was the sole actor because I didn't have time to bring any other actors in, but so I also got a lot of great help and support from BSTN at the high school. It's just such an amazing program, so many amazing kids, an amazing teacher. Some of them are even back there. We're so fortunate to have this program in Boardman. To be honest, it kind of makes it tricky finding a college because you got to step up, and it's hard to find something better. But I truly hope to be able to make a difference with this video. I think hopefully if it can help one person or change their perspective, then I hope I've done my job. So without further ado, here it is. Thank you.
Well, Sam, that is incredible. A very powerful message. I had watched that yesterday. We were putting this together and thought, wow. And of course, not just for student drivers, but for adults as well, because you're right. You always see people texting when they're driving. So congratulations to you. I understand the Turnpike Commission will be presenting an award to you in the future. So again, so many great kids in the schools. But let's give him one more round of applause. Thank you for joining us this morning. And Superintendent Saxton, thank you so much for your update as well and walking us through the building updates and the savings and the closing. Thank you again. Well, next we want to find out what's going on in Boardman Township, and please help me welcome Trustee Larry Moliterno for that update.
Well, good morning, Boardman. First of all, I want to thank everyone for being here today, and certainly want to recognize my fellow trustees, Brad Calhoun and Tom Costello, who are here today. It really has been and continues to be a pleasure to be able to work with those guys, because we've always gotten together and said there's no agenda, there's nothing other than let's do the right thing for Boardman Township. And let's make decisions that are best for the long run, not what looks good to people in the short term, but what's really going to benefit us in the long run. And we really do love the township form of government, because we don't have a mayor, we don't have a bunch of council people who are only looking out for their ward. We have 3 people who have to listen and do what's best for the entirety of Boardman Township. And so we've tried to be as transparent as we can, and we have, I would say, kind of been on a listening tour for a number of years. We created the Community Day so that we could have opportunities to talk to people, open houses in our zoning department. We've attended countless neighborhood block watch meetings. We had our trustee meetings in schools and in churches, everywhere we could go, not only to listen to the residents' concerns, but also to listen about what their dreams and aspirations are for the future of Boardman Township. Also, I want to mention our fiscal officer is here today, Bill Light. Bill. Government accounting can be very tricky, and not a lot of people understand it very well. So it's really a benefit having someone like Bill, not only with his background and experience, but also with his CPA. I think it's always allowed us to have a comfort level that the township is being run fiscally responsible. But also we put together a great team. And I have to start with our township administrator, Jason Lurie. It's funny, we joked that I don't think Jason was shaving when he became the administrator at Boardman Township. And I feel like over the last 12 years I've been part of raising Jason. But I've seen him become not only a good husband, but a great father over those years. And he's a great man, but he has also emerged into one of the most respected township administrators in the state of Ohio. And anytime you go to a state conference, you'll see people coming up to Jason, asking him questions, and he really is considered an expert around the state. His knowledge of legal issues, contract language, and stormwater issues is absolutely incredible, so thank you, Jason. Also, our road superintendent, Marilyn Kenner, is here today. She has so many years of experience in the county engineer's office that there's sort of a game that we play. Name any road in Mahoning County, and she will tell you the absolute history of everything that's ever happened there. And that is absolutely true, so just try her one of these days. Our Director of Zoning and Planning, Krista Beniston, is an amazing asset to the township. She knows what progressive communities are doing, and she knows more about what we are capable of doing and what our potential is than I think any of us could even imagine. So she does have a clear vision of what the future of Boardman Township is going to look like. In terms of walkability and livability, she has the vision, and we really appreciate that. Our fire chief, Mark Pitzer, is another great story. Back in some very, very difficult times, Mark was one of our laid-off firefighters, and Mark left town. But Mark's commitment to this community was so great that when the township righted ourselves and we were able to recall some of those firefighters, Mark chose to come back. And not only did he come back, he came back with a vengeance. He showed his commitment and his leadership and rose to the position of fire chief, and we really appreciate that, Mark. And lastly, the new kid, Todd Worth. I don't think Todd's able to be here today, but not only does he have an impressive military career serving in the Middle East, he also has great leadership history working with the FBI, and to add to that, Chief Worth is one of the most genuine, conscientious men I've ever met. So Boardman, you are in very good hands with this team. Give them all a round of applause, please. So this is Good Morning Boardman, a time to reflect on just what makes Boardman a nice place to do business and a nice place to call home. How do we do it? Well, I'd like to say it's the Boardman way, because what we do is we honor our history. You heard Mr. Saxon talk about that with the schools. We honor our history, but we always have an eye and a vision for the future. Let's take our wonderful park as an example. It's been preserved since 1947, but also has a vision to the future. They responded to current trends. They started disc golf, which I've not yet to play. They started a dog park, and I don't know if anyone remembers the Pokemon Go craze that brought hundreds of people into Boardman Park. The leadership of the park also respected our history by acquiring the old Southern Park stable. And now they have an exciting plan for the future of that property for the next generation. Let's talk about our schools also. We loved our old football stadium. So many great Friday night memories there. But the leadership of the school also had a vision for the future. We now have a wonderful, state-of-the-art new stadium. And I think that was because they had the vision to move forward. And now we're going to have years and years to come of more Friday night highlights. The school also honored the tradition of the wonderful arts program by taking BSTN. You just saw a wonderful story about what BSTN does. But it is the state-of-the-art media program and production service that is light years ahead of what other schools are doing. And I have to say, I have to have a shout out to Chris Clonis again. Chris, you do a wonderful job with that program, so thank you very much. And keep in mind, when you go to a football game on Friday nights, all the work that's being done, all the information, everything on that screen that you see, that replay screen, all done by students. That's not done anywhere but Boardman. And even now, Boardman schools are continuing to look into the vision by bringing together a number of community leaders and community individuals to start the strategic plan for the future. So thank you for having that forward thought and continuing to make Boardman schools wonderful and something that we're very proud of. At the township, we've been working on our strategic plan also for the last 11 years. That plan is updated regularly, and it's the game plan for our future. We loved our former administration building and our fire station on 224. It was 90 years old, and actually to the point where some of our new vehicles couldn't even fit in the building. So we had an eye on the future, and we sat down and we planned a new fire station. For years, there had been conversations about the need for the fire station, but we finally sat down and we did it. And we could not have done it without the cooperation of the Boardman schools. And so it shows that the leaders in this township, the park, the schools, the township, all working together for the betterment of Boardman Township. We also are proud of our neighborhoods. They've been enjoyed by families for decades. But with an eye on the future, we created the land bank, the landlord registrations program. We're updating our zoning regulations, and we're preserving these neighborhoods for centuries to come. And also, keep in mind, we are conducting a study currently on the Market Street corridor, and we're going to have some exciting news about what potential that area has for us. We are also proud of our history as the home of the #1 Arby's, the first Arby's ever in the United States. But with an eye on the future, when they wanted to redo that Arby's and restructure it, we insisted that they include stormwater retention and underground retention before they would move ahead with that project, because we were looking out for the future of the township. Actually, another story I was talking about the other day, the Texas Roadhouse was one of the first buildings that when they wanted to come into Boardman and build, and we insisted that they add so much green space to that project. And this was a number of years ago. And they weren't all that happy about it. And they said, well, we'll just go to another community. And we said, well, we'd hate to lose you, but we understand, but we're not going to back down from these standards. Well, a lot of you have probably had dinner there at Texas Roadhouse, so you know it's there and it's working, and the owners of Texas Roadhouse are thrilled that they decided to open up in Boardman Township. You see, sometimes it's a challenge, and a challenge we accept, to support business and balance that with protecting our residents. But we do it. Look all along Route 224. All of those new projects, all meeting the new stormwater standards that we've set up as a township, all contributing to the plan that we have for the future to deal with that issue that was 70 years in the making. We like to work in cooperation with business because we know something. Smart business people, they know that if Boardman has great schools, great recreational opportunities, and great neighborhoods, then it's always going to be a great place to do business. And the epitome of this theme, of honoring our history with an eye to the future, is this building we're standing in right now. 50 years ago, Mr. DeBartolo recognized our past. He named this mall the Southern Park Mall after the Southern Park Stables that started in the early 1900s. He honored that history by naming this building that. And he had a vision for what retail was going to look like for the next 50 years. And now the folks at Washington Prime, not only do they have a vision for what this facility can be for this community, the reinventing of this facility for the next 50 years, but not only that, they recognized our past because they're naming that community area the Bartlow Commons out of respect for the history of this township. So you know why? Because that's how we do it in Boardman. That's the Boardman way of doing things. The efforts of the park leadership, the school leadership, and the township leadership, years and years of planning that are now coming to fruition. A new football stadium, a new fire station, new zoning codes, the Market Street corridor study, the ABC Water District, the Senior Care Call Program, the Storm Water Retention Plan, the Landlord Registration Program, the Southern Park Stables Project, the reinventing of the Southern Park Mall. All of this now is coming to fruition. All of the hard work of years is now primed for the future. So, it is a good morning, Boardman, and we have a great future ahead of us, so thank you.
Thank you so much, Larry, for a great update this morning. I know I lived half of my life here, and I'm a proud Boardman graduate. I'm sure some of you are too, but whether you live or work here, I'm sure everybody plays here and visits here, and it's a wonderful place to be. So we'll wait and see what more there is to come, but thank you so much for joining us today. As I had mentioned earlier, we heard some exciting news this summer about future renovations to the Southern Park Mall, and we've asked the general manager to join us to give us some scoop. Please welcome Mr. Brian Gabbard for some insight this morning.
Good morning. On behalf of Southern Park Mall and Washington Prime Group, we'd like to thank you for being here today. It's our honor to host this and have you all here. I've been in this business a long time, about 29 years, most of it in the retail side of things, malls, shopping centers, that thing. And the landscape has changed. There's no doubt about that. Malls aren't what they used to be. I'm not going to stand here and tell you they are. Years ago, we used to be able to open the doors and people come in and shop. It's not quite the same climate anymore. Online shopping has hurt us. Amazon is out there. It's here to stay. Everybody knows that. And there's no denying that. I'm not going to stand here and tell you that it's any different than it is. But we find ourselves with a daunting task. And the question we have now is, what do we do with what we've got? We feel like we're sitting on some of the best real estate in the area here. We're at a great location. We're in a great area. Boardman Township is really where we want to be. The folks at Boardman have been fantastic to work with. And we're trying to figure out now, what do we do? Where do we go with this real estate? What do we do in this market? And I think the answer is we've got to come up with something. We've got to reinvent ourselves. We've got to come up with something that's different than the normal. When you reinvent yourself, you're doing it because what you were doing isn't quite working anymore or isn't doing what it used to do. And that's where we're at. So what do we do? What do we do with what we've got? And I think the answer is experiential. What can we provide that's an experience that you can't get online? What can we do that you can't take your mouse and point and click? So we're looking at several things. And you can see here, I've got a couple boards up of some of the things we've done and some of the things we're going to do. It's all about community for us. The community that we're in is a fantastic place. Larry talked about it, and I don't think he exaggerated at any point. I know these folks are committed to Boardman. We're committed to Boardman. We're committed to Mahoning Valley. This is a place that we really want to be. There's no intention whatsoever of closing down the doors and doing anything like that other than going forward. So Mr. DeBartolo had a vision for this mall. He had a vision for the valley. And we've really now, in the past couple of years, decided if we want to go forward, we need to get on board with that. So that's what we're doing. We're partnering with the DeBartolo family. We've got several big announcements that we've already made, several more that are coming down the pike here pretty soon. Coming up in November, we've got a big announcement coming on. I believe it's the 18th of November, where we'll be announcing some of the tenants that we're going to be putting in the new area down here. But I want to give you a little bit of an update as to what we're doing with the area down there. You've seen, I always point the wrong direction, but we're actually down that way. Sears building. Sears closed a year and a half ago, and for me, that was a sad thing. Sears, I grew up with Sears. I went to Sears all the time. Half the appliances in our house were Kenmore. Our tools were Craftsman. I mean, it was a sad thing. Nobody wanted to see that happen, but it was something that it just had to happen. I mean, they weren't moving forward. They weren't changing with the times. I mean, you've got to be willing to reinvent yourself, and that's what we're doing. We're taking a lesson from some of the things that we've seen that have failed, and we're changing our course based on that. So what we're going to do is we're going to tear that whole wing down, or the end of that wing, starting about 3 or 4 bays in from Sears. That will actually come down. The Sears Auto Center has already been taken down. There's just a couple piles. If you drive around that way on your way out, you'll see there's just a couple piles left out there. But that will be gone within the next week or so, I believe. But one of the questions we see, social media is not our friend. You see so many things on social media. They talk about the hole in the wall out there. Well, we cut the hole in the wall back in September. What's happening? Well, I'll tell you what's happening. They've been in there every single day working. You don't just tear the building down. If you just tear the building down, you've got a big hole in the wall. What do you do about utilities? What do you do about heating and cooling? What do you do about all these other things? So we've spent the last 6 or 8 weeks inside the Sears building separating the utilities, separating the heating and cooling, taking out the, anytime you've got elevators and escalators, you've got hydraulic fluid, you've got asbestos in there, you've got everything. All that's now been removed. We have a separation wall that has been completed just this week. So behind the barricade that you see down there, there is now a separation wall that goes all the way up that will enable us to, if actually starting on Monday, we'll actually start taking the rest of that building down. That's going to be probably a 4 to 5 week process. We hope to have that down by the end of November, first week in December, somewhere around there. So what does all that mean? What do we do with that? Well, again, back to what we talked about before, community. It's all about community. What can we do that will draw people into our center, not just to get them to shop, but to give them a place to, we want to be a community center. We really do. We want to be a place where people come to gather. They can bring their families, they can feel safe, they can feel comfortable, and at the same time, they can have some fun, they can have some food, entertainment, all those things. So down at that end, we're going to have a green space. If you've seen the last couple of years, we've had a couple events out in our parking lot. The Ribs and Rock Fest has been a big thing. Last year, the first year we did it in 18, we had about 13,000 people. This year we did it, we were just over 20,000 people. So it's been a very successful event for us, and that's been one of the things that we've taken and kind of used as a launching pad to figure out what we're going to do with that space down there. So what we're actually planning is when Sears comes down, we'll put some outward-facing stores on that end of the mall. But beyond that, where Sears actually sits now, we'll have a big green space. It'll be the size of, essentially it'll be the size of 2 full soccer fields. We'll hopefully have some soccer concepts going on there. We're hoping to incorporate some of the youth soccer programs, but the size of it will be 2 soccer fields. And really we're looking at moving our festivals out there. We're going to have our Ribs and Rock out there. I don't think it'll be ready for the 2020 year. We're probably looking at a late August, early September opening for that, and our Ribs and Rock goes on in June, so we'll probably still be down here for that. But we want to make that a concert venue. We want to make it an entertainment venue. We want to make it someplace where people can come out with their families and have fun. And be safe at the same time. So we're also going to incorporate a walking trail. We're going to connect Boardman Park on the other side and have a walking trail. We'll have a retention pond. We're putting in plenty of green space, plenty of stormwater retention. It'll be something that takes us probably in the neighborhood of 12 to 14 months, I think, to complete. But like I say, we started on the Sears Auto Center back in August. That is now down. Sears proper will start coming down on Monday, and once that's down, we'll start actually building some of the spaces that you'll see out there. I don't have a board showing because the boards that we have actually have some of the names of the tenants on it, and I can't release that yet. But you will see some outward-facing real estate bolted onto to the front side. If you look out behind P&C, that area. So we'll have tenants on that side, and then also along the back side where Sears is now. The plan is to, if you remember the Jillian space, Jillian's is about 37,000 square feet of vacant space that's been sitting there for almost 10 years. It's been a really tough sell to get somebody in there because it sat back in the corner between where Sears and the former Dillard's was. So it's been very difficult to fill that. Now that Sears is gone, we've got somebody lined up for that space. And that's one of the announcements we'll be making on the 18th of November. But we have somebody going in there that will have some, it'll be entertainment, it'll be golf simulators, food, that kind of thing. We're also bringing in some local breweries to do some things with both coffee brewing, craft brewing. We'll have some roll-up doors for indoor-outdoor seating. Bocce courts are going to be involved. Bocce's a big thing around here. I'm not from here originally, but everything I hear is all about bocce. So I've gotten a little bit of a bocce education in the last 6 or 8 months. But so we're hoping to incorporate a lot of those things outside. And then also moving inside, it's no big secret as you look around, it's fairly dated in here. I'm not going to tell you this is all new and updated. It's not. You can look around and tell that it's got some years on it. Our plan is also to renovate the interior. We're going to change out the floors, change out the lighting. Also, you can see if you've been through Center Court, you can see we've got an area out there that we call the yard. We've got ping pong tables, we've got cornhole, we've got some kids' activities, things like that. And I'll be honest, when we first rolled that out, that was a kind of a corporate initiative. We rolled that out, and I thought, yeah, how's this going to go? People are going to tear it up. We're going to lose ping pong paddles. We've had no trouble at all. I mean, people have really embraced this. I think we've lost one ping pong paddle since March. I'll take that. We go through ping pong balls, but hey, that's no big deal. But people have really embraced it. It's kind of fun to watch. We've got a fairly significant mall walker community here. I think we've got about 200 folks that come out and walk. And it's kind of fun to watch some of them because they'll make a lap and they'll stop and throw cornhole. And then they'll make a lap and they'll come back, and you can kind of watch the patterns. But again, back to the whole philosophy of community. What can we do that's going to draw people in, give people something to do? We want to be someplace where you can get in out of the cold in the wintertime, and you can come in out of the heat in the summertime. And at the same time, bring your kids, have food, have fun. Obviously we've got Santa and Easter Bunny, and all the things that we've done over the years, and we'll certainly continue to do those. But I think, again, we've realized we've got to do more. What can we do that's more than what we've done? And what can we do that will embrace our community and reach out and say, hey, come visit us? And, hopefully, and obviously we still have a responsibility to our retailers, and we want to drive sales. But simply opening the doors and turning on the lights doesn't drive sales like it used to. So our job as a landlord and a real estate owner, developer, is to not just open the doors and turn on the lights, but to drive people to the center. And to drive people to the center, I think we really have to create a community environment, and that's the direction we're heading. And again, back to, you can't do that. If it's just us as a developer, we need more than that. And we've had fantastic support from the folks at Boardman, the Mahoning County folks. It's been absolutely a thrill to work with these folks and see these folks get on board with the vision that our CEO has and the direction that we're heading. So I'll be around after if anybody has any questions or wants to talk about any more of this. But again, thank you for being here today. It's our honor to host this, and thank you.
Thank you, Brian. It sounds like there are a lot of exciting things coming, and we're going to have to wait until November to find out what they are. I don't know if anyone looked at these photos up here. And I saw Woolworths, and I remember I loved that store when I was young. So you may be able to buy a lot of things online, but you cannot buy memories, and it sounds like people are going to be making a lot of those moving forward with all these exciting things to come. So thanks again, Brian, for hosting us, and we will stay tuned. For our final update this morning, we're looking forward to finding out more about the new You Ride rideshare program that the WRTA has launched here in Boardman. Please help me welcome Executive Director Dean Harris to tell us more about this new program.
Hopefully it worked for me, I don't know. Well, good morning. Thank you for the Chamber for letting me speak to you about WRTA and our services that we offer to the area and specifically to Boardman. I'm going to guess that a lot of you didn't ride the bus here this morning and probably haven't ridden the bus quite a while, if at all. And that's okay. I'm just as guilty as you are. We all lead busy schedules, and our service doesn't always accommodate everybody. But I'm hoping that we can change that in the future. In the future, hopefully you'll decide to ride the bus, and it'll be a choice you make because of the changes we're making here now in Boardman area and through the region. Maybe it'll save money. Maybe we won't be able to drive, and you'll need our services for the elderly and disabled. Just know that our WRTA will be there to help you get where you need to go. So let's see here. Thank you. So just a few over some of the highlights of WRTA service in general. We have 12-minute fixed routes that serve the Mahoning Valley area from Boardman all the way up to Warren. The buses run from about 5 a.m. to 7 p.m. Then we have what we call Nightline service that runs from 7 p.m. to midnight. It's very limited. There's only like 6 buses that operate. We also have our countywide service, and this is the small buses. They handle all our service outside the core, urban core area, and it's a curb-to-curb service that you have to place a reservation for. And some of the problems with it, for me, is that it's very limited amount of capacity. So if you want a trip, we have a issue of getting all the trips we want done because you can only get so many people on a bus. Then part of our fixed route, we also have ADA, which is very similar to our countywide service. It's designed to handle our passengers that have disability or they're over 65. And basically, if you're inside 3/4 of a mile of one of our fixed routes, you can reserve a trip on this on our all-access service, and it'll get you from where you need to be to where you need to go. WRTA provides over 1.5 million trips a year. That's pretty good for a system our size. Personally, though, my goal, I've only been here a year, just so you know, so I'm trying really to change things, but my goal is to get the service up to 2 million riders a year. It's a big ask. That's a 35% increase. In my first year, we've already increased our service by 5%, so I think we're on our way, and we'll hit that mark hopefully soon. All right. Thank you. So this is Boardman. Of course, I want to talk about the highlights of what we provide to this area. We have 6 of our 21 routes that provide service to the Boardman area. 5 of those routes connect downtown Youngstown with Southern Park Mall. The 6th route, which is a brand new route we just added last month as part of our new service improvements, it's called a crosstown route, and it's basically a route that goes across town and does not go downtown. So it goes across Midlothian, down Youngstown Pullen Road, and then into Walmart off South Avenue. So the purpose of that route is to provide a connection between the routes, 5 routes that we have that are in the area. Because right now, if you ride one of our routes and you want to transfer and go to another part of the southern part of our service area, you would have to go all the way downtown, transfer our Youngstown facility, a federal station, and then ride all the way back out. So with this new service, you would ride part of the way, get off the bus on Midlothian, and be able to transfer and come back out. This is very helpful, especially for our routes that are in Struthers, because they now have access directly to Boardman. In addition, one of our other routes that we had before, but with our new service changes in September, it's our Boardman-Canfield route. It runs along 224. It used to run every 3 hours. We've changed that to hourly. And we also included selected trips to MCCTC to provide access to the school there. That was one of our biggest requests when we were changing our service. And it's done very well so far. It's only been going for a little over 6 weeks. So of course, the biggest change we made last month was our new service improvement. It's called U-Ride. It's kind of, for those who haven't had a chance to see it or understand what it is, basically it's just like Uber, and what we in transit call microtransit. So it's a service where you could download an app. It's called Transloc, and when you log into it, it will, of course, know where you're at. You'll pick a location on the map where you want to go and book a ride. Very simple request. And we're hoping this service, so kind of backing off of that, why did we do U-Ride in Boardman? We had public hearings, public meetings last fall when we were getting ready to do all our service changes. And one of the complaints we heard was, after 7 o'clock, our routes, we'd have no way of getting home once we get to work. And for those in the Boardman area, and a lot of other areas, there is also no sidewalks along 224. So it's hard to walk to a bus service that we do have. So we looked at this service and we thought Boardman was a good test area. Great retail space, we have good service. So our nightline service, like I said, has 6 routes at night. 3 of those come into the Southern Park Mall. So half our service actually ends up in Boardman. So another good connection with our U-Ride is getting our passengers from where they're working to U-Ride. One of the other things we looked at when we're looking at this U-Ride service, because of the retail complex around 224, we thought it would be a good idea is that it also provide transportation for those that are visiting Boardman, especially staying at the hotels. If they want to get to a restaurant, they wouldn't have to fight the traffic, and maybe if they want to have a little extra drink, they won't have to worry about driving, doing that. The service itself runs from 6:30 to 10:30. Again, it's It's designed to replace our regular bus service, so we picked that time to try and supplement that. Sorry, I kind of skipped some of my stuff already said. So when you leave here today, I'm hoping that you'll go back and you'll talk to your employees, talk to your customers, and give me some free advertisement for our service here in Youngstown, for U-Ride, and for, of course, our regular bus service. Our service, like I said, started 6 weeks ago. It's not been utilized as much as I hope. It's actually currently free right now for those who want to ride it and test it out. So if you're around in even the next couple of weeks, you might want to try it out. It's a very easy, like I said, a very easy service to use. As you can see, we have some additional projects we're working on, which is just the beginning of what we're trying to do with the transit. I have a zillion ideas. The only thing slowing me down is time, and my staff is, can't keep up with me. But we're putting bus stop signs up finally, and hopefully this is going to happen for two things. One, it's going to give a dedicated spot for our passengers to pick up so they know where the bus is going to be at. And it helps with safety, because now we have passengers being picked up in safe locations. They'll get dropped off just anywhere they want. We just launched a mobile ticketing app, so now you can purchase your tickets on an app, show the driver, just walk on. No having to put money into the fare box, no having to go downtown to buy a ticket. We launched that, I think, a week ago. That one's actually popular. We already had a bunch of people using it, which is really nice. And then for those who haven't heard by now, talking is the Build Grant that the City of Youngstown ourselves, Eastgate, Mercy Hospital, YSU, we put together an application for this Build Grant. It's federal funds. The bulk of it's going to be used to fix up downtown's main roads, put street lighting in, better sidewalks, just a better overall area for pedestrians. But part of that is autonomous vehicle, and that's our part. So we're hoping that we're going to be running the route. What I'm saying, hoping the route's still up for debate. But it looks like we're going to run a route from our downtown Federal Station up Fifth Avenue to Mercy Health Hospital. And we also are looking at running a route around downtown. And this shuttle will be autonomous, like I said, and hopefully, again, another positive draw to bring people downtown Youngstown. It's a little different than Boardman. But hopefully the first step in many future projects for autonomous vehicle to supplement our main overall service. WRTA, as your public provider, is a building mobility service for the valley to provide transportation options for all people. I'd like to thank you and have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dane. Certainly the WRTA provides significant services here in our valley, and it sounds like some of these new services are something that we can all utilize, so we appreciate that you joined us today and brought awareness to those services. But with that, that concludes our Good Morning Boardman program. We again thank everyone for joining us, and First National Bank again for sponsoring, Chick-fil-A for providing breakfast, and the mall for hosting us, and all of you for joining us. Have a wonderful weekend.